The things that top performing sellers do is always not as obvious to underperforming sellers. In this episode, we're going to help to highlight some of those things that you ain't seeing behind the scenes that top performing sellers are doing. And oftentimes, these are not during working hours. You're going to love this. Hey, everyone. Welcome to another great episode of the Sales Evangelist Podcast. I'm your host, Donald C. Kelly, the Sales Evangelist, and I'm so excited for another great episode. I'm so excited to be here with you today. And on this episode, we're going to talk to the one and only Miss Kristi Jones. Kristi comes with years of experience, not only as an individual seller, but also as a sales leader and as a consultant working with countless startups, getting them up and going and building their sales force, giving them all the tools and everything they do and train. I mean, she knows a thing or two, and she comes with an athletic background. So when we talk about top 10 percenters, she's not just talking about something faint of heart. She's talking about things that she's lived in many different levels. And the things that top performing sellers do, oftentimes we are oblivious to it if we're not at that level. She's going to shed some light today. Now, I'm not telling you that you need to change everything you're doing. Kristi's going to outline and guide you through this process. You can check out her latest book, Sell Your Way In. You can find all the details about that in the show notes. Now, as we dive into the episode, Kristi and I are going to go into what are some of these things these top performers are doing. We're going to give you some tactical pieces. The first one is one that I find very simple and easy. Oftentimes, again, people don't take advantage of it. Don't let that be you. Check it out. Kristi, welcome back to the show.
Thank you so much for having me again. It's been a little bit of time. I'm looking forward to catching up.
Well, it's always great having you. Not only do you come with your own experience, but also the organizations that you work with. You're like a walking case study of knowledge, and this is why I'm excited that you wrote another book, and I'm pumped to hear about that. I bragged about it a little bit in a teaser. Tell us about the book for a quick sec.
Yeah, I decided, I wanted to write a book, and I'm looking forward to doing some speaking engagements around the topic that I was going to choose. But I decided not to do a how-to book. I think this might resonate with you as someone who wrote a sales book, but not really. Yeah. So I didn't want to write a how-to book. I thought there are plenty of people out there doing that were doing it as well or better than I could do, and so I didn't want to do that. But I started to see a pattern of people in the sales arena, not hitting quota, not understanding why they weren't hitting quota, or they weren't getting to the top 10%. And so I decided to write a personal development book for sales professionals that I think really is full of things that people aren't talking about, on LinkedIn necessarily, so to speak. But all of the things that top 10 percenters are doing that I think are kind of behind the scenes that maybe you're not seeing. And so you're, trying to figure out why it is that I'm not at the top 10%, but Susan sitting next to me is. I think I'm doing all the same things as Susan.
Love it. And there are so many points, and I want to dive into some of those, Kristi, as we jump into this episode. I know, for instance, like when I got into sales and I saw people like Greg Chernicky. This was a guy, he was a seasoned seller, worked in this organization I worked at, but he was like a vet. He'd been there forever. But there's certain things that Greg just did and did well. On the surface, I saw that and tried to mimic it, but I couldn't do it quite what Greg was doing. It wasn't until years later I realized that was Showtime Greg. What was happening behind the scenes, I had no clue about. So
that's right. That's right.
How do I get if I'm a rep, I'm an individual in an organization? Let's go back into that same idea, the problem where you are finding now the organizations when you're helping people to develop their sales team or you help in an interview process. What's typically the norm, the average seller? What are they coming to the table with that's making them not successful? I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I think the things that people are struggling with are a few things. One, again, everybody needs to know their own personal sales math. Mm-hmm. So if you have a $1.2 million quota this year, you need to know your average sale, you need to know your sales cycle, you need to know your close rate, because everyone's ability is different. And so first and foremost, you probably don't have enough deals in your pipeline. You know this. Mm-hmm. You probably talk about this all the time. But more than just not having enough deals in your pipeline, like how many deals is that based on your personal sales math?
Yeah.
So I think top 10 percenters understand their personal sales math. They understand what it takes to get those deals closed so they can impact their own personal income. And then I think the other thing that people aren't figuring out is when you say going on behind the scenes, I totally agree with you. I say the work to get to the top doesn't actually happen at work. It happens after work. And so those top 10 percenters are probably taking care of their mind and their body. They probably have a spiritual practice. They're probably going to the gym. They're probably eating pretty well. They're probably spending time with friends and family. They may have a spiritual or religious practice.
Yeah.
So top 10 percenters know that they can't perform at the top of their sales game if they're not in peak performance, just like a top athlete.
I find that sometimes, if it's not like this is a closing strategy, this is a LinkedIn strategy, that often that people tend to not give that weight. Can you go deeper into why those things matter so much into helping me perform as a seller? Because there may be that disconnect where like a spiritual practice or a workout can help me on a day-to-day level. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. I mean, I think mentally, if you're not the better physical shape you're in, the better you're going to be mentally for a variety of reasons. Again, if you're eating better, then you're probably, and you're exercising, you're probably getting enough sleep.
Yeah.
Right. You're probably not living on 5 hours of sleep. You're probably living on 7 or 8 hours of sleep. So when you do all these other right things, and that includes, so I would go as far as to say, visualization, affirmations or afformations, positive self-talk, those type of things. I, for a while, didn't disclose this, but recently started to talk about it a little bit. But I have a hypnotherapist just for business. She's on my business team. I pay her with my business credit card, and I see her quarterly. And I tell her, what I want going on in my head. Mm-hmm. And so she, I'm hypno friendly. She says, I think maybe I'm just tired, but she says I'm hypno friendly. So I can go under pretty quickly. But yeah, I let her fill my head with I did basically tell her in the conscience what I want her to talk to me about in the unconscious. And, that's just part of my mental game. I grew up as an athlete, so I understand. I didn't have something like that, really didn't exist to me when I was playing sports at a high level.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, why wouldn't I, have the subconscious, if you will, know exactly what the goal is too?
Right. And I think that's important. Like, I find that when sellers get lucky, so this might deviate just a little bit. I had a friend and I were having a conversation recently. We were talking about sellers and how sometimes salespeople make tons of money and then they blow it on dumb stuff, whether it's like drugs or back in days like
right. Fast cars.
Like you don't they. It becomes like this, almost like those sports athletes that get this, large lumps of money.
Right, they just get right out of college.
Like, what do I do? How am I building? You see folks like Lebron, who is like freaking dunking in the Olympics right now, and you're like, it's 40. Like, we're the same age. Like, how is he doing that? I can't walk up the stairs properly. My knees creaking. But it's like it's more than what is happening on the scene. Like, so go back to this, hypnotherapist. Like for that, it's how am I taking care of my head to be able to still go through those years of rejection? How am I taking care of my mind to know that I'm not going to go to substance to help me when I'm going through a difficult day or rough day? And how am I going to be prepared for if I show up every single day to the game, quote unquote, to work, prepared and refreshed? How is that going to help me? So as you talk about this, so that's what goes through my head. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that old adage, if I'm pulling from sports again, practice how you play. Right. So when you're practicing, you should be going hard in the paint. We'll stay with the LeBron reference there. Yeah. If you want to go hard in the paint and you want to drive to the basket and make sure that you're there first, well, then all that stuff's happening beforehand. That's not him just sitting there shooting free throws. That's time in the gym. That's lifting weights. That's cardio. That's putting the right foods in his body. And so, yeah, I think, number of people are probably not thinking about that, but I don't think that if you came from an athletic background, which is why I like to hire athletes, like I'll just come right out with it. Like if you played, you played D1 anywhere to D1 to JUCO sports, or even a little bit in high school, like I'm in with you because it requires discipline too, right? All those things I just mentioned, the reason why the other 90% aren't doing it is because it's hard.
Yeah. Right?
It's hard to go to the gym every day, to eat right, to spend time with your family. It's hard.
Yeah.
So that's why not everyone's going to do it.
And I think so go back to that part of being, because in my head, I know the excuse I've said in the past when I didn't do that stuff is like, I'm just focusing on my career right now. I'm trying to do better in my career. And I remember those days where, I do feel that you should work hard. You just need to work smart. I remember one time, Kristie, when I was like, it was out of college, couple years, bachelor, chilling. like it was a Friday night, and I'm sitting here at the office, like going to like 7 o'clock, and I don't go out and party. So I was just kind of like, I'm just going to keep going longer. And I was doing all this stuff, but it wasn't giving me the balance that I needed in my life, right? And eventually there was a little burnout that did come up with that, because you can't, it's not sustainable for a long period of time.
No, it's not. And I think, if you're not in an office environment and you're remote, you've got a lot more flexibility than you used to, right? So you can get in a 30-minute walk over lunch. You can, you can work till, again, like I sometimes like, I'll tell you what I'm doing this afternoon. I'm already signed up for the 4:15 class at Orange Theory.
Oh, let's go.
Right? Right? But that probably means I'm going to be watching the Olympics with my laptop, right? But those are trade-offs, right? Like I'm not gonna like I still have to get my work done. But as I get, as it gets later in the day, I get more tired and less likely I'm going to want to go to Orange Theory. And so I know that I've kind of got an emotional and physical cutoff there for them. So I'm going to go at 4:15, so I know I can get a decent workout in, only to know I'll probably come back and shower and, sit on the sofa and watch Olympics with my laptop. So
Yeah.
that's like, it's all doable. And trust me, Donald, I live in the startup world where founders are working 80 to 100 hours a week, right? I mean, the startup world is full of that.
Yeah.
And it's unhealthy. Like
Yeah.
it's just unhealthy to not even disconnect. I just talked to a woman that helps me with my marketing right before your call. And she's normally in Patagonia. So she lives internationally. She's from Mississippi. So she's here in the States right now. But she said, she goes, I just totally disconnected for the last 6 days. She goes, I didn't even look at email till Sunday night. And she says, have you ever done that? And I said, no, not since I got really not since 2000 when I got into SaaS. Like I was a buyer for a department store prior to that.
Yeah.
And you could walk out on Friday, right, and not worry about it. This was before, VPN access and cloud and whatever. So you couldn't do work if you wanted to. There wasn't anything to do. But yeah, she's like, have you ever done that? And I was like, no, because we own our own business. And I'm sure I'll be curious about what your answer is. Donna, when's the last time you totally disconnected electronically for 6 days?
I would even say like hurricane time, but that is not even true. Like we leave town.
Like I found a way to charge my phone.
Yeah, I cannot tell you a time. I honestly cannot think of a time where I've unplugged for that long period of time. Maybe 6 hours, but that's about it.
Right. Yeah, but it's again, like, we've got some other trade-offs because because I know you and I follow you on social.
Yeah.
I know you work out. I know you spend time with family. I know there's the professional stuff that's in there too, but I know, as high achievers, like you just know what people are, you just see what people are doing. And yeah, I just don't, this crushing it, this crushing it mentality. It's silly. It's silly. You can hit quota. You can be successful and not work 90 hours or 80 hours a week.
Yeah. How do I do that?
Well, I think so first off, you have to have intentionality and some discipline, right? Mm-hmm. So you have to be, it's like you have to be interested in wanting to do that, right? So you have to be interested in wanting to be a top 10%er. And then you have to ask yourself what sacrifices you're willing to make to get there. Because the top 10%ers didn't get lucky. They've made sacrifices along the way. So again, in order to get to the gym, they may skip happy hour, right? So those type of things. And so you have to you have to have some sort of mindfulness around that you want to go after this. And then in fairness, like if you really haven't been doing anything, like I'm always on the I would probably personally jump in with both feet, but I'm not going to advocate or advise that. Like pick a couple things, right? Can you get to bed at 10:30? Can you get to bed at 10 so that you're asleep at 10:30 instead of bed at 11 and asleep at 11:30? Like, can you make that one change a week? Or, can you drink one more glass of water a day? Can you walk the dog instead of hire the dog walker? At least someone there is getting their exercise.
Yeah.
But don't try to bite off. Just like when I go through and train, do some sales training for companies. If I'm doing a 4-hour session, at the end of that, I go, okay, so I probably taught you 10 or 12 new things. I need you to just pick one because you're never going to master one. So same thing here. Like, don't go from, partying on the weekends, smoking, whatever, to you can't cold turkey all that. But what's the one thing that you think you could make a decision and commit to today? Like, even if you got to bed 30 minutes early, what if that improved your productivity by 5%?
Yeah. And I can think about it. If I'm 5% more productive throughout my day, and if I'm more alert, and I can have even just like that one more call in the day, in the hour, add one more call to my hour call block, then it increased my odds very significantly. And if it's coming to like, I'll give you one. I'm working on a couple of proposals right now for, for a couple deals, a couple deals that we have internally, and they require me to be engaged in these proposals. And I can tell you when I try to do some stuff, because I'm a early person, so 9:30, that's like midnight for me, pretty much. But like I'm done by 9 o'clock, falling asleep on the floor in my kids' room. But I do get up earlier, and I know like I have to put my effort in at certain times where I'm gonna have peak. And if I have 5% more effectiveness throughout the day to be able to do that, oh my goodness! If I can do
Well,
that,
and that, like you said that, but it's
game.
5% a day.
Yeah, that's
Like
that's
a day,
huge.
not like one. This isn't like a one-time thing. If you did this, then that's like add up that over time.
Yeah, if that's so that's like what 25% more at the end of the week, right?
Yeah.
What does that
Right.
25% extra boost give me? Like that could be that could be a huge deal for one of these proposals that I'm working on, where I don't miss something dumb or put something else in there that's going to be more effective.
Yep.
But yeah, I love that. So identify one area, because I was going to come back in as the devil's advocate and say, well, I can't do all that big change, but I love what you shared there. Do 1%, dude. Like just start off in a simple, measurable area, and then you go from there. How do I stick to it? Like the discipline. Say I wasn't an athlete. I was.
That's
but
right.
if you're not an athlete, you don't have that discipline. Am I screwed, or is there a way that I can still build in discipline to make sure I can stick to this?
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to be an athlete to be a disciplined person. But I think that goes back to the intentionality and making sure that this is something that you really want to do, because the more likely it is that you'll commit to it. And again, like everybody's going to get off schedule. Like let's stay with the sleep example. So it's fine.
Yeah.
One night you stay up, the Olympics are running into the midnight hour and you just can't go to
I gotta
bed.
watch Jamaica. You got
Right, exactly. Right. Exactly. So yeah, so then you just, whatever, it's fine, get back on the wagon. But I think what I think people who make these kind of changes, Donald, and once you will feel better.
Yeah.
Like you'll just feel a physical difference. And I think and hopefully that's as much motivation as anything to do that. I think the other good idea here is get an accountability partner. Right? I mean, that's, Weight Watchers, I always say, was built on that premise of holding people accountable like no others, because you got to go into the store and weigh in every week in front of your peers. Nothing, I mean, like, that's the ultimate test of trust, right? They're going to weigh you in front of your peers, for God's sakes. But no, I mean, like, you got to, I always say, I'm a cardio junkie. Mm-hmm. So I love to go do my cardio in a variety of ways. The only reason I go to Orange Theory is because otherwise I would never lift a free weight. But again, I know that. So I have a membership that makes me go twice a week. The second way I think you can get some of this accomplished is with an accountability partner. So, someone that you need to check in with in the morning and report your bedtime to, or someone that you check into and say, yep, I got to the gym 3 times this week. That's, that people partner up all the time, right? Like gym partners, you see it. They're walking into the gym together. They're leaving together. Those kind of, running partners. That's why running groups exist. Like, this isn't like making all these changes doesn't have to be a solo sport. Go find a friend and pull. I mean, again, the more likely it is. And honestly, then think about the professional side of that. As you guys start to get healthy together, I bet your professional lives change and you can continue to support each other there too.
It's fascinating you mentioned that. I think about that accountability in a different way now, because before I think instinctively many of us know what the term accountability means, and we think at least and I won't generalize. I thought that I had enough willpower to do some of these things, but then I look back on it and see, like when I put money behind it, like my book, when you wrote your book, it took me like 5 years or so, some crazy number of time to write the book, but then I actually wrote the darn thing in probably like 45, 50 days when I used my book coach who gave me accountability. So all that time, what did I do for those 3.5 to 4 years? But when it came down to working with Azul, what difference? I had that accountability, and it's something so silly, and it's not silly, but something so simple as you're going to report back to someone else, makes it that you improve on it. So if it's that 30 minutes of sleep, like you can do it by yourself, but when you tell somebody else that that's the case, it just makes it go to the nth degree. And I agree with you the professional side too. I've seen that financially from when I got it. I had I'm still a part of a mastermind for 10 years now. And we've all seen that jump in revenue and income and, the company because of that simple fact that we had that accountability every week that we were going to come back to. It's amazing.
Well, yeah, and so that also gets to the other thing that I sometimes talk about is, again, if you put it into this mental side, but your circle matters.
Yeah.
Right? The people you spend time with every day are going to impact you professionally and personally. And if you're spending, so you just said that's one, mastermind group, right?
Yeah.
You have a mastermind group. You've watched each other over the years. And you've cheered each other on. You've watched the successes. You've watched some of the problems, failures, and bad decisions.
And cried.
But you probably learned, right. But you learn from all of that, right? Yeah. The good and the bad. But yeah, I think those your circle matters too. That's part of that mental game. If you're spending time with people who aren't ambitious, who aren't motivated, who've made enough money to be comfortable, then that may not be your crew.
Mm. Yeah, find those folks. They're there. Several things you mentioned so far, Kristie. One, I got to know my numbers. Two, I got to make sure I pick one thing to improve on outside, and then don't bite off more than I can chew. Get accountability towards that. Everything you're telling me here, I still haven't heard any tricks and strategies how to close that next big deal. But I do that, being facetious there because I feel like all of this does help me to close that next big deal if I'm getting that 5% more. Is there anything else that I should be aware of or be cognizant of if I'm trying to make these type of changes in my life and to get to that 10% status?
Go find the top 10 percenters in your current organization and invite them to lunch, right? Pick their brains because that's part of that circle matters. It's up leveling, right? Every time we go into a company, we want to up level so that perhaps we jump to the next big step for us. But you got to be around those right people. So go get a mentor inside your company, but I also would encourage you to get one outside of your company. But either way, your mentors should be top 10 percenters in their own respective field.
What do I ask them to do if I'm going to somebody to mentor me?
I wouldn't even ask about, any of the sales techniques they have, because again, I'm all about the other side. So you can probably figure out some of the sales things that they're doing that are making a difference. But I want to know about all that other stuff. So who's your circle? Where do you vacation? Do you ever shut your phone off? What are you doing for your, mental, physical, and spiritual wellness? And, those are I bet you'd be shocked about what you hear. I still think that a large percentage of top performers that I interact with did something extraordinary previously in life, whether that be music, athletics. They were an achiever or an overachiever in their past, and they have that discipline around practicing the flute, so you can be number one chair.
Yeah.
But I think you're going to ask them all of those type of questions, and then I think I'll steal from something I read a while back about not necessarily just being a mentor, but being an advocate. Mm. So when an opening happens up in a department, and the influencers are spitting out names, you'd want your mentor to, if you were just so deserving, to spit out your name. And that's not mentorship, that's advocating for someone. So look for people who are going to have your back when you're not in the room. People that are going to sing your praises and going to tell other people about it. Those are the kind of people I'd really like to have in my circle.
Oh, I love it. I love this. All right, so we got a lot of good stuff here, Kristie, that we can take and apply. If I'm a sales leader and I want to be able to help my team adopt this stuff, maybe give me one takeaway of how can I do that?
Yeah, instead of, taking the team out for happy hour and buying drinks, why don't you, take the team out to a soccer field with a soccer ball and pit two sides against each other, and, the winner gets a pizza party or something, right? But if companies that are, I find that a lot of times that companies where the higher level CEO, founder, those kind of things are athletic, are getting up and getting that done before 6 a.m. in the morning, that they're probably talking about that as well.
Yeah.
So I think finding, that mentor probably has all of those things that you're looking for, and then the top 10 percenters that you take out to lunch. But you hope that you ask enough of the right questions to be smart enough that they may invite you into the inner circle, put their arms around you, and show you the way.
Yeah, I absolutely love this. Kristie, if I want to get a hold of your book and to learn about it, how do I do so? And if there's a bulk order process, is that different? Do I just go to Amazon?
Good question. So first off, you can get the book at sellingyourwayin.com. And I'm going to say, first and foremost, buy the book wherever you enjoy purchasing your books. But secondly, I would say that my publisher has a strong relationship with Barnes & Noble, and I'm on a quest. There's a secret number of books that they want to be pre-ordered before they'll put you in the physical stores or even right thereafter. So I'm on a quest to hit that secret number so I can get my book into every Barnes & Noble brick and mortar store in the country. So if you were so inclined or you were a member of the Barnes & Noble discount club, would love for you to start there.
All right. Fair enough. We can do that. We'll go ahead and put that stuff in our show notes there. Put a link down to that and a link to Barnes & Noble's. Kristi, thank you so much for coming on the show. Thanks for your research. Thanks for helping us to be able to level up our game. Appreciate you.
Donald, thanks for having me on again.
Anytime. That was the one and only Kristi Jones. If you want to find her book and all the great details, we have a link down below. You can find it on Barnes & Nobles and all the cool places where books are sold. Again, like Kristi said, go to wherever you like buying your books, but we want to help her hit her number so she can get those books on bookshelves in Barnes & Nobles nationwide. Find details about that in the show notes. As always, I want you to thrive and succeed. I want you to apply these things. I mean, for me, I do my workout, but one of them something I got from this episode is just that accountability that I need to implement even more when it comes to my workout. I have my mastermind, but I need to put that accountability for the workout there. My wife keeps me accountable with it as well. Sometimes it's good to have outside people from around outside of the house in that. So I have some thoughts there. And the other component is I want to do Win That Morning. You remember that book back in the days, Win the Morning? I want to do a better job of that. And I'm grateful for this episode here today with Kristi. So Kristi, thank you for that. Check out her book. Tell her again that you found her here on the Sales Evangelist podcast. As always, we want you to raise your level of thinking. We want you to thrive. And speaking about mastermind, if you're trying to find a mastermind, a cool group of people that you can get together with and get some insights and some help and some sales motivation, listen, look no further. Check out our sales mastermind. Go to thesalesevangelist.com/mastermind. Again, thesalesevangelist.com/mastermind. It would be an absolute honor to have you join us to help you to improve your sales game. Let's do this thing together. Let's go out and build pipeline. Let's increase our opportunities and let's close some more deals. Most importantly, raise your level of thinking and do big things. See you in the next one.